Hello dear students, welcome back. This question is from GATE 2018 exam. You need to find the output of this program. Let us start executing it. Now in this program, you are trying to declare a global variable. This variable, it is not declared inside any function. So it is global. It is int counter that is initialized to 0. So this variable named counter is declared. It is of integer type and value is 0. Okay. It will be declared in the data section of program's address space. Suppose this is the data section. So all the global variables will be declared here. Okay. Now execution of a program will always begin from the main function. So this is the main function. That means execution will start from here. This main function will be called automatically. Now whenever any function is called, a activation record corresponding to that function call will be pushed on the stack. Suppose this is the activation record of main function. Okay. Like this. Now let us start executing this main function line by line. First line only says calc 4,81. That means you are trying to call some function and you are passing these values as parameters. Okay. Now whenever this function call ends, see, you have to call this function. Each and every line present in this function will be executed. And when this function returns, that means when this function is completely executed, then you will again come back to main function and you have to execute this remaining line, that is the print statement. So it is labeled as P. So I am marking here that line number P is still remaining. See, from here you will call a function. Whenever a function is called, a activation record corresponding to new function is pushed onto the stack. So this activation record is for this function calc. All of the local variables will be declared inside this activation record. So this calc has these two local variables. So A and B will be declared inside activation record of this function. 4 is given to A, 81 is given to B. Like this. Now in next line, we are declaring one more variable that is integer type and is named C, like this. Okay. Now see, you will execute this program line by line and you have to return to the main function. Whenever you return, you will execute this line. Okay, that's why I've written P there. Anyways, now let's execute this function. Next line says counter plus plus. That means increment this value. So it is incremented. Then next line says if B is equal to 3. B is not 3, B is actually 81. So this if condition is false. That means this line will not be executed. You will execute the line present after else. So this is else and this is the else block. That means this line will be executed. It says C is equal to calc A comma B divided by 3. You are trying to call some function. Whenever a function is called, a new activation record will be pushed corresponding to that function call. So for this function, an activation record is pushed. That means this function is called again. It has two variables A and B. So A and B. The values that we are passing are A. So 4 is passed as it is. See, currently in this function, value of A is 4. So to the new function, you pass 4. And value of B is 81. So to the new function, you pass 81 divided by 3. That is 27. So B will get a value 27 from here. Like this. Okay. Now when all the lines of this function have been executed, you will come back to its calling function. And from where will you continue? You will continue from this line only. That means whatever the function has returned, you will assign it to this variable C. Okay. So I'm writing J here. So let us mark that you have to resume from line number J. That means whatever this function returns, assign that value to variable C. We were in the else block and we are executing this line currently. Now to calculate its return value, this function is called. Let's execute this new function line by line. First line says int C. So variable C is declared. Then counter plus plus. Counter is incremented to 2. If B is equal to 3, then return. No, B is 27. B is not 3. Okay. That means you have to execute the else block. So In else block, you are trying to assign some value to C. Which value is assigned? Whatever is returned by this function. Again, you are calling a function. This means activation record will be pushed. Okay, like this. You are passing A, so value of A is 4. 4 is passed as it is. And B by 3. Now B is 27. 27 divided by 3 will be passed. Okay, that means you are passing 9 to this variable B, like this. Okay, now see, when this function has completely executed, it will return something. Whatever it returns will be given to this variable C. That means when this function returns, you will come back to previous function and you will resume the execution from line number J. So I'm writing J here just to remember that thing. Okay. Now let's start executing this function from line number 1. Line number 1 says and C. So variable C is declared. Then counter plus plus. Counter is incremented and it will be made 3. Then if B is equal to 3. No, it is false. So again you will call the function. To this variable C, you will assign whatever is returned by this function called calc. Because a function is called, so activation record will be pushed. It will have these two variables A and B. A is given value 4. What is the value that we are assigning to B? That will be 9 divided by 3. Currently in this function, B is 9. So B divided by 3 will be 3. So 3 is passed. That means new variable in new function will get this value 3. Now let us execute it line by line. Int C, so variable C is declared. Counter plus plus, it is incremented and now counter's value will be 4. If B is equal to 3, which is true now. Current value of B is 3. Okay. So this line is true. That means you are going to return. What are you going to return? A into A into A. So you are going to return 4 cube. A is 4. 4 cube is returned. So this function returns a value 4 cube. Now because you have returned, this activation record will be popped. Okay, so all of these three variables, they are lost. Okay, we have never assigned any value to C for this function call. Okay, see, this variable C was only declared and in this line or this line, C has not been given any value. Okay, so it has popped. Now you will come back to the previous function and you have to resume its execution from line number J only. Okay, I haven't written it here, but I think you can just see it is this line only where the function was called. Now at this line, the value returned by this function call is what? 4 cube. That means C will get a value 4 cube. Okay, like this. Now from here execute the next line. See, we have executed this. After this next line for this function is return C cube. So this variable's cube will be returned here. Okay, so it is 4 cube, that will be 4 raised to the power 9. So variable C in previous function will get a value 4 raised to the power 9. Okay, now in this function you have assigned a value to C. Look, this one will be popped because it has returned. It has returned 4 cube whole cube. Okay, then for this function, this one, no, sorry, this one. For this function, you have right now executed this line. After this, it will also return. It will return C cube. So value of C is 4 raised to the power 9. It will return 4 raised to the power 27. 9 into 3 is 27. Yeah, true. Now, maybe this value will not be stored in an integer. It will just go out of the range of integer. And hence, random value will be given to this variable C. See, we have called this function calc. It returned a very large number that cannot be saved in some integer. Okay, so some random negative value might be given to this variable C, or it might even be 0. So we don't care. I am writing question mark here because we don't know what the value is. It may be 0 also. Okay, this variable cannot be represented in an integer. C is an integer, so C will not be able to save this value. Anyways, Now something is returned to this variable C. Something is saved in this variable C. We don't care what that is. This function has popped. Here the value is returned. So for this function call, last line, that is return statement, is executed. Now you don't know what is the value of C. You are trying to return C cube. That means you don't know what is returned from here. Okay, it will be some garbage value. I'm just writing a question mark. Something is returned. We don't care what that value is because main function is not using that value. You have just called calc 4,81. Whatever is returned here, you are not using it. This value is not printed, nor you are assigning it to some variable. Okay, so we simply don't care what the value is that is returned. Now, because you have returned to main function, in main function C, you have to continue from line number P. So we'll resume from line number P. This is line that is labeled P. That means here. So printf counter. Counter is printed. That is 4. So what is the output of this program? It will be 4 because value of counter is 4 and we are trying to print that. Okay.